Hey guys, it's Crossroads here. Today I want to talk about BMNR, that's Bitmine Immersion. Specifically, they just had earnings, and these are wacky and weird. And usually you don't want to hear those as investors. It's not a bad thing, it's just unusual, and we need to take a look. So let's take a look at that and see what the earnings held for us. So, first thing is table of contents. If you look at this, the financial results. Usually, this is the most important part of any earnings. And I said going into this, there was just two things I really needed to know: updated share count and what they're doing about staking. And we got both of those. So awesome. If you look at financial results, it's a little bit of a misnomer. So if we look at this here, we can see that they reported net income of 328 million, fully diluted shares outstanding. If we take that, then we're looking at a 13.39 GAAP diluted EPS. And yes, that's accurate, kind of. So with Bitmine, in essence, what's happening is that this is a shift in their business. They used to be a Bitcoin miner, and that was most of what they were doing before. And they've shifted instead to digital asset treasury built around Ethereum, brought Tom Lee aboard, changed the CEO, a lot of changes. And of course, at the same time as they began that strategy, the Ethereum price is higher today than it was when they initially began this strategy, even though it's fallen quite a bit in price. So as a result, they benefited immensely from that. Now, one of the things, by the way, to take a look at always during earnings is you can take a look at SEC filings. And it's important to do so, frankly, as a shareholder. In this case, they filed a 10K, which is their once per year annual document. They'll always file a 10Q unless they're filing a 10K for the SEC side. I want to show you how to look this up in Fiscal AI because I think it's really useful here. Not the most useful tool for Bitmine, by the way, just because, again, you're not looking at financials really as much. But what you can do, and you can look this up on your own SEC website, you don't have to use this. Two things. You can click investor relations. You can see, of course, here is what they issued when they presented earnings. And there's also another presentation there as well. And then we can look at filings. And this is where we see all the SEC filings. Now, we don't want all of those. We just want quarterly or annual. And we see right here at the top, the 10K for financial year ended August 2025. And boom, we have the whole thing here. 78 pages. If you've looked at these before, they can be quite dense. So one thing that I really like about this, obviously you can go full size and blow it up, is this AI summary. It's been really nice. And let me show this because I'm always a little bit careful when I'm using a tool and I'm using AI because I don't know how reliable it will be. And I'm careful about hallucinations. So far, I've not seen any hallucinations in this. And what's really useful here is, if you weren't paying attention back then, and that's fine, and, Bitmine is maybe a newer holding for you, you might not realize exactly why they had this massive gain. And they said right here, it's great. It is primarily driven by a strategic pivot initiated in the third calendar quarter of 2025. And again, that's just all the things we talked about. Plus, right here, they had some unrealized gains from ETH mostly, because of this, the ASU 2023-08 rule, which basically changed fair value accounting standards so that they can put those unrealized gains, and next quarter will probably be unrealized losses and look like a nasty, horrible EPS as GAAP approved a measure in terms of accounting. So you can go further, then you can see, of course, a lot of the measures, key takeaways, and everything. Did a really good job in terms of summary. So if you need to save yourself some time, if you want a summary there, that's an interesting tool to do. Of course, you can use a custom summary if you're looking at things in particular as well. So nevertheless, if we look back here, again, a lot of this as per our AI tool there from Fiscal AI. I'll leave a link in the description, by the way. Save yourself some money if you're going to use a referral code. Great tool to analyze stocks, great for charting. I've showed it off several other videos as well. Yeah, looks great this quarter. Next quarter, it will not because of the change in accounting rule, unless Ethereum's price really starts accumulating again and we get back to basically break even on the quarter. Not to be unexpected, this kind of play. It just could be shocking for people that this is a new holding, a new strategy, and they don't own or haven't followed stocks like this as well. So take this with a grain of salt. Usually fiscal stuff is the most important. It's the least important here. Nevertheless, they do need to present that. And you can see these pulled straight from the SEC filing as well. So you can take a look. Now, the bigger two things. One is, of course, a staking update. So we have Maven here. I've heard it pronounced Maven. I like Maven. Anyway, Bitmine selects basically 3 top staking providers for a focused pilot to test capabilities as they advance and grow. So what they're planning to do is a Made in America validator network. Being a validator network is a big part of the Ethereum strategy as it relates to BMNR. It's very important. It secures the network. It helps it continue to function well. And so they've been looking at different ways to stake. There's all, you can do traditional staking, and they will do a good chunk of that as well because they want to be a validator. But beyond that, there's liquid staking pools, there's crypto lending, there's a lot of different options out there. And so they're trying to generate, of course, the best yield for shareholders. What they decided to do, rather than just go with one of these, they said, let's go with the 3 top staking providers that they have found. And they're going to evaluate over the last few months. And then they will launch a Made in America validator network in early 2026. Now, this a little bit unusual, but here's the evaluation criteria. So they said they're going to assess, well, they've already assessed several native staking providers around these parameters: safe and secure operations, performance and reward, yield generation. So it's not enough, and I like this, by the way, because we've seen troubles of this back in 2021, 2022, where you go after the performance only, and that's all that matters, and then you get into crazy things like algorithmic stablecoins, which completely different thing. But yeah, safe and secure operations, priority number 1. Performance, priority number 2. Ability to run dedicated infrastructure and overall service quality and support. So this is their plan. What they're doing as well. They note that there's a lot of off-the-shelf offerings as well for staking, but they're trying to have the best of the best as they scale and the best partners. They think that's a good thing for the ecosystem as well. And we'll see. So it sounds like staking will be relatively soon. They're staking a small bit of this with each of these 3, evaluating, and they'll probably move forward with 2 of the 3. Maybe all 3. We'll have to see. Now, the other thing that was really wacky and weird about this is the declaration of the annual dividend. Now, going into this, we knew that this was a possibility just because of the way that Ethereum is, that it could be staked, and then there's a yield that comes from that and is generated from that, a little bit above 2% right now. And so there was talk of this earlier. I just didn't expect it this soon. Now, is this a massive dividend that we're getting? No. Bitmine declares annual dividend of $0.01 per BMNR share. Declaration date is November 21st, obviously. Ex-dividend date, December 5th. Record date, payable date, you can see right there in case you're wondering when you get your money as a Bitmine shareholder. Now, I know that none of us are likely in this stock because we're like, oh man, dividend plays and I want that penny. No, obviously not. You're in this because you believe in Ethereum, you believe in Tom Lee, you believe that over time, although not, it's going to be lumpy, as we've seen, that this will accumulate in share price. And if they pay a dividend on the side, so be it. But we are not maybe the target audience necessarily for this. So they mentioned, by the way, 9 of the 16 largest AI and Max 7 stocks pay a dividend. This isn't really AI. It's not Max 7, but they're just kind of showing this, that they are the only large cap crypto stock to pay a dividend. They like to be first in a number of things, and so this is their opportunity. So, by the way, if you're a Robinhood shareholder, quit asking for dividends. Now is not the right time. It is about growth. Nevertheless, this differentiates them a little bit. It's something that they're going to build on in the future, likely as they stake. And then also, this helps, I think, more than anything, some institutions will not hold stocks like BMNR unless there is a dividend. So this helps, they just have their rules and bylaws which prevent that. Kind of like the reason why NVIDIA issues a dividend in the first place. It's not because it's such a massive amount. It's just there to be able to break into those type of portfolios. And some people like getting just a little bit extra on the side, even though this is a tiny, tiny yield as well. But it can be grown over time and likely will as they make progress towards their alchemy of 5%, getting 5% of the Ethereum supply. Right now, they are very close to 3%. It is going to take time, and things have slowed down a little bit. We're going to look at the net asset value as well for BMNR. But nevertheless, this is a good update. They gave us information. It's unexpected and weird because of the dividend. And also the Made in America validator network is a little bit unusual as well. We'll have to look and see how that plays out. But as long as it's secure and they're yielding, with the best of the best, that's fine. I'm good with that. Absolutely. Now, the other thing that I was really looking for, and we do find this in the filings, by the way, is I wanted to see an updated share count. So let's take a quick look at this. I'll actually just pull it up here in our tool, and let me see if I can full screen it. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. And we can see right here, as of November 20th, 2025, the registrant had 384 million shares of common stock issued. So that's a nice thing about these earnings is they have to give an updated count of shares. And so they started at the end of the quarter with 234 million. You can see the dilution there of 146 additional million as well. Now, why this is important is it helps us be able to gauge and figure out exactly where we're at in terms of net asset value or marketable net asset value, oftentimes known as MNAV. All right, so I did the calculations for us. So this is as of Monday. They do weekly updates to show their holdings. We can see the Ethereum that they own, the actual value of Ethereum right now as I'm recording this video. Hopefully it's higher by the time you're watching it. And so this is the price that we have for Ethereum. We got Bitcoin, we have orbs, and we have cash as well. This totals this number right here, colossal sum of what they're actually worth should they liquidate and sell everything. That's marketable net assets under value. And then we have their share count as well per the SEC filing as of November 20th. And so that's what the price is currently. And of course, the total right there, which implies a 1.02% premium over what their shares are valued at. Now, that's a challenge right now for Bitmine, and we're going to have to see how they react. The tough thing is if they were trading way under their MNAV, they would have a lot of options. They could sell their Bitcoin, for instance, use their cash as well, and buy back their stock at a ridiculous discount. But again, they're trading near parity. If they were trading well overvalued, they would continue their strategy of selling shares at the market, and as a result, doing quite well with buying Ethereum. But instead, that's not going to be the case, or it will be the case, but it's not going to be the case nearly as aggressively. We can actually see here, let's add this to the stage. This is Ethereum Treasury Company's holdings, and we can see the rate of increase in terms of ETH supply has decreased. Now, it's still increasing, unlike most of the other digital asset treasuries. We see a slight bump there for SBET. We see a big change for Ethereum. They kind of had to because they were way under value there. But the reason why is because of their NAV. Now, these, you can see NAV based on outstanding shares or fully diluted shares as well. Doesn't really matter here. We know what the actual value is, or at least we're very close to it. Now, this says BMNR is way undervalued there. This one, by the way, says that BMNR is also way undervalued. We have the actual numbers. We know that's not the case, but we can see the trend. As NAV basically decreases or gets close to parity, then they have less and less of a premium as they sell their shares and they're buying Ethereum. Is this a problem? No, not yet. We'll have to see, if it, like the worst thing for BMNR is that it trades right there at the exact price of what they're worth on the books, because it doesn't give you a lot of flexibility as well. Now, as we move further away from this quarterly event, then we'll have less and less certainty about the number of shares. And as a result, Bitmine will know exactly where they're at. But, shorts and those that are trying to gauge the value of the company will not necessarily. This is one of the reasons why, by the way, they don't publish this number on a weekly basis. I like that as a shareholder. More information, I think, is always good. But sometimes it does play into the hands. And this is about a 10% shorted stock into the opposition that would know exactly where they were at and try to keep them at or even a little bit below parity as well. So, nevertheless, this was an interesting update. The dividend was a little bit unexpected. By the way, I don't think the dividend is there for short interest or anything like that, or to get it sticking to the shorts. I saw that theory out there. I don't buy it. I think it's for kind of showing what they're looking at doing after they have that 5% of Ethereum locked up, and also some institutional interests as well that are more interested in a dividend type of play. Also helping them realize like Ethereum is an asset that actually generates a yield. So a nice update, a needed update. I look forward to see what they're doing with Maven as well. I continue to be an investor and shareholder. Again, this was a 2-year swing, which is a little bit unusual in terms of duration, just because I wanted to be able to fully digest a crypto winter. Should we be heading that direction? And it might be a little bit early. I still think it's a little bit early, but it could be coming next year. Anyway, let me know what you think of their earnings in the comments. And if there's anything different from Bitmine that you would like to see or know about, I'd love to hear it. As always, thank you for watching, commenting, and subscribing. And until next time, happy investing.